I arrived early because I wanted to see the room before it filled with people. The Catters were still arranging trays near the kitchen doors, silver domes catching light from the chandeliers. I stood near the windows and watched them work, my reflection thin and anonymous in the glass. I'd worn something plain, a navy dress, no jewelry, because I needed to look like someone who didn't matter. My stepmother entered 40 minutes later, her heels sharp against the hardwood. She didn't notice me at first. She was directing staff, adjusting flowers, touching the shoulder of a waiter who'd placed a champagne bucket 6 inches too far to the left. I watched her claim the space. Every room has a rhythm, and she was teaching this one how to breathe. When she finally saw me, her face did something small and practiced, concern maybe, pity. The expression you wear for a stray dog that keeps finding its way back. Sweetheart. She crossed the room, arms opening. I let her embrace me. She smelled of expensive perfume and something underneath, cigarette smoke maybe, or the metallic scent of mints she used to hide it. You came. I wanted to. Her hand cupped my elbow, steering me slightly away from the windows toward the corner where fewer people would see us. A kindness, I thought. Spare the ruined girl the embarrassment of being watched. Then she leaned in, her lips nearly touched my ear. Look, the stinky little sheep is here. Her breath was warm. Her hand still rested on my arm, gentle, the gesture of a concerned stepmother. She didn't know I owned the venue, or that her family was about to learn it the bloody way. She pulled back, smiling. To anyone watching, it would have looked like an intimate moment. A private joke between women who'd learned to be family. I smiled back, small, uncertain, the smile of someone who didn't understand. She patted my arm and moved toward the door to greet arriving guests. I stood in my corner for a while, watched her work the room. She was good at this, the right touch on a shoulder here, the right tilt of laughter there. My father arrived, and she kissed his cheek, and he beamed at her like she'd invented happiness. At some point, I moved to the table where gifts had been piled. I added mine. A thick cream envelope, my name in the corner, nothing else. Inside was a single photograph. My mother, 23 years old, standing in front of this same building. Behind her, a sign bolted to the brick, Reed property of Meridian Holdings, acquisition pending. The photograph had a date stamp in the corner, October 1994. My mother had been a commercial real estate appraiser. She'd kept files on everything. After she died, I kept them. I'd found this one 3 weeks ago while looking for something else entirely. The party continued. Cake was cut. Toasts were made. My stepmother opened presents with theatrical delight, scarves, candles, a bracelet from my father that caught the light when she held it up. She reached my envelope last, tore it open, pulled out the photograph. For a moment, nothing. She turned it over, checking the back. Then she looked at me across the room, and I watched her face try on expressions, confusion, dismissal, the beginnings of something else she couldn't quite name. She tucked the photograph into her pocket, raised her champagne flute, smiled. She thought it was sentiment. A dead mother's ghost brought out for special occasions. I didn't correct her. 20 minutes later, the door opened and 2 women walked in. They weren't guests. One carried a leather folio, the other a handbag large enough for documents. They moved through the room without hesitation, without looking for the bar or the bathroom. They moved like people who knew exactly where they were going. My stepmother noticed them before they reached her. Something in her posture changed, a stiffening at the shoulders, a small pull at the corner of her mouth. She set down her champagne. The woman with the folio spoke first, quietly. I was too far to hear the words, but I saw my stepmother's hand grip the back of a chair. The other woman opened her handbag, removed a folder, opened it, pointed to something inside. My stepmother shook her head, said something short. The woman with the folio replied, and this time I caught a phrase, chain of ownership. Another guest tried to approach. Glass raised for a toast. The woman with the handbag intercepted smoothly, murmured something, and the guest retreated, confused. My stepmother's eyes found mine across the room. I held her gaze. No smile, no triumph, just the simple fact of being seen and seeing in return. She looked away first. My father appeared beside me, bewildered. What's happening? Who are those women? I touched his arm lightly, the way she had touched mine earlier. Nothing tonight. It's her birthday. I led him toward the cake table, where someone was lighting candles. Where the room was still full of people who didn't know anything had shifted, he let himself be led. He was good at that. Behind us, my stepmother stood very still. The two women still spoke. The folio was open now, papers were being shown. I didn't look back. I left before the candles burned down, walked out into the cold air, into the parking lot, into the night. My car started on the second try. The photograph had shown my mother standing in front of a building that didn't belong to the man who'd signed it over. The signature had been witnessed by someone who died the following year, which made it hard to verify. Hard, but not impossible. Banks get interested in things like that, eventually. Especially when documents surface. Especially when someone knows which desk to leave them on. I drove home through empty streets. Didn't turn on the radio. Didn't think about much at all. Sometimes quiet is enough.